While I worked a double shift on Christmas Day, my kids went to his grandparents. But they told him they weren't doing grandkids this year. The kids sat outside for 2 hours before driving themselves home. I didn't make a scene. The next morning, I sent them a text with a simple PDF. And within an hour, my phone lit up with 32 missed calls. They told my kids they weren't accepting grandchildren this year. That's the exact sentence. No explanation. No warning. My 10-year-old son and 12-year-old daughter stood on the front porch with their backpacks and a tin of cookies, listening through the door as my mother said it. Then silence. It was Christmas Eve. I was working a double shift at the hospital. People were bleeding, coding, crying. I was up to my elbows in it, thinking my kids were warm, fed, and safe with family. They weren't. They stood outside in 28 degrees for 2 hours before they walked home. When I got the voicemail from Haley, I was halfway through charting on a patient. I didn't even listen to it until I was in the car at 1 a.m. Her voice was shaky but calm. She said no one let them in and they were back at home. I sped the whole way thinking there had to be some misunderstanding. I half expected to find them asleep in their grandparents' guest room. But there they were. On the couch. Wrapped in the blanket from the living room, wearing their coats. They had let themselves in. Milo had made popcorn. I sat down next to them and listened to the whole story. They rang the bell, knocked. Saw movement through the window. Haley swears she made eye contact with my mother. Then they heard it clear as anything. My father's voice, flat. We're not accepting grandchildren this year. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't text back the string of messages already starting to light up my phone. I just got up, made them breakfast and said we'd do Christmas here, just the three of us. Then I opened my laptop. By sunrise, I had sent my parents a simple message with a PDF attachment. No subject line. No body text. It was a bill. Itemized. The rent payments I'd made when they were in a bind. The deposit I'd fronted for their RV. The therapy bills I paid after they borrowed money from my ex-husband and never gave it back. The private school tuition I covered for their golden grandchildren in Arizona. The ones who, by the way, got brand new iPhones and game consoles that same day while mine stood outside in the cold. Total amount $14,378.92. By 10 a.m. I had 32 missed calls. The first call came before I'd even gotten out of bed. My phone was still on silent, but when I turned it over and saw 32 missed calls, I knew exactly what it was about. There was a voicemail from my mother at 6:47 a.m. She was laughing. Actually laughing. Said she hoped my little invoice was a joke. Then added something about how Christmas can bring out the worst in people. Her voice didn't sound concerned. Sounded smug, like I'd embarrassed myself. Like I was still a teenager slamming doors and throwing tantrums. The second voicemail wasn't laughing. It was my father, and he wasn't dancing around anything. He told me I'd lost it, accused me of trying to turn the family into a courtroom. He said I should be ashamed, said I was acting like some entitled stranger and not his daughter. Told me to call him back before I made things worse. By then the texts were coming in. My sister sent a wall of messages asking what was wrong with me, why I would ruin Christmas over a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? My kids were left outside like stray animals while her twins opened brand new iPads in their matching pajamas and drank cocoa with marshmallows. They all circled the same point. I was being irrational. Overreacting. No one mentioned what had actually happened. No one said sorry. Not a single person asked if Milo and Haley were okay. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked down to the mailbox, slid the printed PDF into a padded envelope and mailed it certified with tracking. I wanted them to sign for it. I wanted them to feel that this wasn't a text you could ignore or laugh off. This was real now. Then I spent the rest of the day digging through old records. Screenshots of Venmo transfers. Email chains about the car I helped them buy. A scanned receipt from the weekend I paid for the repairs on their beach house after they forgot to renew their insurance. Every petty, quiet, swallowed debt I had absorbed over the last 10 years went into that folder. The amount was even higher than I'd thought. $14,378.92. I wasn't just mad about what happened to my kids. That was the last straw. The truth was, my parents had treated me like a bank with a guilt complex for years. They never said thank you. They just expected it. And when I stopped giving, they found someone else to reward. My sister, her kids, the grandchildren who looked better in their family photos. That night, while I was organizing the last of the files, Milo came into the room holding a used game controller. His friend had loaned it to him for the week. He asked if Santa might have gotten our address wrong. Haley sat next to him trying to smile. I stood up, grabbed my bag and left. Target, Best Buy, anywhere open late, I didn't care. I bought everything. Phones. Headphones. A console. A stack of games. I even got wrapping paper but didn't bother using it. I came home, dropped everything in front of them and said it was from Grandma and Grandpa. They looked confused then quiet. They didn't ask any questions. And I didn't offer any answers. The next morning I filed the small claims suit. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. I had receipts, text agreements, and a paper trail that stretched back nearly a decade. I knew they'd try to twist it, tell everyone I was crazy, unstable, selfish. I didn't care. I wasn't playing their game anymore. I had my own now. By the time the legal notice reached them, my sister had already posted some vague story on Facebook about family drama, and how some people can't handle boundaries. She made it sound like I'd ruined Christmas because I was jealous. She got all the usual sympathy replies, cousins we hadn't seen in years chiming in about how heartbreaking it is when siblings turn on each other, people asking if I was okay like I'd gone off the deep end. My parents stayed quiet online. That wasn't their style. They did things behind closed doors. 3 days later I got a typed letter in the mail. No return address, but I knew the font. My father had always used that same serif typeface when he wanted to seem professional. It was a full page of legal-sounding nonsense about how family transactions are based on goodwill, and that I had no standing to collect anything from them. They included a line about how disappointed they were in my behavior, how they hoped this ugly moment wouldn't define our relationship forever. I pinned it to my fridge like a trophy. My lawyer, yes, I had one now, helped me draft a reply. Formal, cold, with a list of every transaction, every timestamp, every promise made. We attached a formal demand for repayment, a list of deadlines, and a notice that failure to respond would lead to escalation. The next week was quiet. Too quiet. Then things started to shift. My parents didn't answer the demand, but someone must have cracked under the pressure. Because suddenly I started getting messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Old family friends, distant relatives, even my mother's church friend Carol, who apparently had a lot of thoughts about daughters who air dirty laundry. It was obvious someone had spun a new version of the story, that I'd gone rogue and was trying to sue my own parents out of spite. One even said she heard I was trying to take their house. I didn't respond. I just kept building my case. And then something strange happened. Milo's school called me to say someone had tried to drop off a late Christmas gift from the grandparents. I never saw it. The school said it looked expensive, but policy meant they couldn't accept it without my permission. I told them to send it back. The next day Haley came home with a necklace. Not from a friend, from my sister. She said she got pulled aside after class and asked if she missed her cousins, and if she wanted to come visit for New Year's. That's when I realized what they were doing. They weren't apologizing. They weren't owning anything. They were just bypassing me, trying to get to the kids, rewriting the narrative directly to them, planting seeds, pretending this was just grown-ups being dramatic and that none of it really mattered. That was the moment I knew there was no going back. I sat Milo and Haley down that night and told them the truth. Not everything, just enough. That family sometimes forgets how to love the right way. That money doesn't make someone bad, but what they do with it can. And that just because someone calls you family doesn't mean they're allowed to hurt you without consequence. Haley didn't say anything. Milo nodded. I told them we were done. No more visits. No more gifts. No more second chances. We were going to start fresh. Without them. It came on a Tuesday morning right after I dropped the kids off at school. An email from my sister with nothing but a PDF attached and a line that read, *, let's just end this before it gets even uglier. For the kids. *. I opened it without much thought. It was a spreadsheet. Their version of a settlement. $5,000. Labeled as a goodwill gesture, not repayment. No responsibility admitted, no acknowledgement of anything. Just a lump sum to make it all go away. At the bottom, in bold, it said I would agree to drop the small claims suit, not pursue further action, and refrain from speaking about private family matters in any public or online forum. It wasn't an offer. It was a payoff. And a silencing clause. I didn't respond. I forwarded it straight to my lawyer, who replied a few hours later with one sentence. They're starting to feel it. The next morning around 7:15 someone knocked on my door. I knew who it was before I looked. My dad stood there, hands in his pockets, same coat he'd worn since I was a kid. I watched him through the window. He didn't knock again. Just stood there for a solid minute, then placed something on the doormat and walked back to his car. It was a check. Loose. No envelope, no note, just a personal check for $10,000, signed with a flourish like he was doing me a favor. I didn't touch it. Picked it up with gloves, slid it into a folder and put it in the filing cabinet. That night they escalated. An email from my mother, longer this time. She said they didn't agree with how things unfolded, but were willing to be generous for the sake of peace. She mentioned how no one was perfect, and how it was time to forgive and move forward. The most infuriating part was near the end. *, we're hosting the family barbecue in April. The kids should be there. We'd hate for them to feel left out again. Asterisk. There was the threat under the velvet. They still didn't get it. They still thought this was about hurt feelings or some family spat I would eventually cool off from. They didn't realize they'd burned the bridge and I was already rebuilding somewhere else. I didn't go through the lawyer this time. I responded myself. I wrote one sentence. Asterisk, this isn't about healing. This is about accountability. Asterisk. Then I attached an updated invoice. $18,274.65. With legal fees and the value of unpaid labor I provided during the renovations of their rental property, which they used for years without ever offering a dime. I sent it. Then I blocked every number I hadn't already. Later that week I got a call from the school. Someone had shown up asking to drop off a late Christmas package for the kids. The staff stopped them, school policy. They said the man refused to give his name but claimed to be their grandfather. The package had no name, no return address. Just a large bag with wrapped boxes inside. I told them to dispose of it. The next day, Haley came home with a new bracelet she hadn't had that morning. She said her cousin slipped it into her locker with a note that read, "Don't let your mom keep us apart." That night I had to explain to her why some people fight dirty when they know they're losing. That being family didn't make someone right. I told her the truth carefully. I told Milo too. That some people hurt others and hide behind the word family, like it's a shield. That real love doesn't come with strings or conditions or threats disguised as kindness. They didn't cry. They just nodded. We spent the weekend somewhere new. I took them to a cabin upstate, a place I used to go when I was younger before everything got so heavy. No phones, no screens. Just us. We built fires, cooked everything over a tiny stovetop, and slept in one bed like we were hiding out from the world. On the last night, Milo asked if this was going to be our new tradition. I said yes. And that was the first time in a long while that it actually felt like Christmas. I didn't tell anyone the date except my lawyer. No need to give them a heads up to stir drama or spin a new version of the story. When the court notice went through, I expected more noise. But this time they went quiet. Too quiet. No phone calls. No emails. No gifts mysteriously left at the school or on the porch. Just silence. It felt like the eye of a storm, like they were regrouping. Planning something. On the day of the hearing, I walked into the courtroom alone. My lawyer met me at the door, briefcase in hand, calm. I was half expecting to see my parents already seated, looking indignant and self-righteous, but they weren't there. Not yet. They showed up 10 minutes before the session started. My father wore a suit I hadn't seen since my sister's wedding. My mother had a stack of folders under her arm, probably thinking it made her look official. My sister came too, sat in the back like she was watching a show. I didn't look at them. I didn't need to. Our case wasn't dramatic. It was simple, really. Receipts. Transfers. Messages. Broken promises. My lawyer laid it out without a trace of emotion, just facts. Cold, clean fact. My parents didn't contest most of it. Just tried to minimize it. Claimed the money had been family help, that I was never expected to be reimbursed. They said I was doing this out of resentment, not reason. But the evidence was clear. Screenshots of them agreeing to pay me back next month. A spreadsheet they had sent me 2 years ago to track our loan. Texts from my father literally using the words, "Once we get on our feet, I'll make you whole." The judge didn't ask many questions. He didn't have to. The ruling came that same day. They were ordered to pay me in full, $18,274.65, within 30 days. No payment plan. No grace period. Just a deadline. I walked past them on my way out and didn't look at any of their faces. My sister said something under her breath as I passed. I didn't catch it. I didn't care. The check arrived 12 days later by certified mail. This time in an envelope. No note. Just the check paid to the cent. I cashed it the next morning. Not because I needed the money, though after Christmas it didn't hurt. I cashed it because it was mine. That afternoon I took the kids shopping. I let them pick whatever they wanted. Not just things they needed, things they loved. Milo picked a new tablet and a ridiculous hoodie with some video game character on it. Haley chose new boots, a silver necklace, and a set of watercolor pens she'd been eyeing for months. We stopped for burgers on the way home and ate in the car with the windows down, music up, like everything that came before didn't touch us anymore. When we got home, I pulled out a manila folder from the kitchen drawer. The one that had all the court paperwork. I burned it. Not out of spite, because it was done. And just like that, the noise stopped. No more calls. No more gifts. No more games. Just peace. It's been 6 months since the check cleared. The kids haven't asked about them. Not once. No, when can we visit? Or, why don't we see them anymore? It's like something clicked in their heads too, like they realized all at once what I had ignored for years. That love isn't supposed to feel like begging. I changed our numbers, closed old social accounts, even switched Haley and Milo's schools at the end of the term. Not because I was running, but because I was done letting their influence seep into places it didn't belong. The new school is smaller, quieter, and kinder. They made friends quickly. Milo joined a robotics club. Haley's on the yearbook team now. I watch her scribble notes across pages like she's recording a world that finally makes sense. Me. I feel lighter. Not because I won some courtroom victory or taught them a lesson. That wasn't the point. It's because for the first time I stopped trying to earn something that should have been freely given. People sometimes ask what happened. A few family members I didn't block outright. Cousins who stayed neutral. A distant aunt who only found out after the hearing. I just say this. Asterisk, they forgot they were supposed to love my kids. Fizzle. Asterisk. No one argues with that. The house is different now. Plumber. We started doing Sunday night traditions. Nothing fancy, just homemade pizza or movie marathons. The kids make the schedule. They even started calling it reset night, which somehow feels exactly right. I found the old tin of cookies the other day. The one they brought to the porch on Christmas Eve, the one that never got opened. It was pushed behind some board games, still sealed. Haley had written Happy Holidays on it in marker. Milo drew a smiley face with a crooked Santa hat. I stood there holding it for a long time. Thought about throwing it away. Thought about keeping it. Instead I opened it. The cookies were stale. Crumbly. Not moldy, just past their time. I dumped them in the trash and washed the tin. Later that night I used it to hold all the new thank you cards Haley had written to her friends and teachers. She said it felt good to tell people she was grateful. I didn't say anything. Just smiled and helped her find stamps. And that was the quietest goodbye I ever gave. No big scenes. No dramatic letters. Just a cleaned out tin filled with something better.